The Pacific Ocean was calm that night, but deep under the water, something old was waking up. In a dark trench where sunlight never reached, a forgotten machine began to pulse again, slow and steady like a heartbeat. At first, no one noticed it, except for Listening Station 9, a small underwater base that monitored earthquake activity, submarine movement, and strange signals. A young technician named Mara was the first to hear it. She tapped her headphones, thinking it was an error. But the sound came again, a low metallic thump, repeating every 10 seconds. She checked the system twice, then 3 times. But the signal stayed. "Captain, you need to hear this," she said, her voice shaking a little. Captain Rylan arrived in seconds, calm, tall, and always serious. He listened to the recorded pulse and narrowed his eyes. "That is not geological," he said, "and that is not human." He ordered a deep scan. And the room fell silent as waves of sonar swept through the trench. The results made everyone stare. Something massive was down there, buried under centuries of mud and stone. The computer could not identify the material, but it was smooth, curved, and thicker than any submarine hull ever built. Then the pulse changed, almost like it reacted to the sonar. It became faster, clearer, intentional, like it was answering back. Raylan called the Navy's command center within minutes. Alarms spread through the Pacific Fleet. They thought it might be a lost experimental vessel or a foreign weapon, but the more they scanned it, the stranger it became. The object was older than any ship on record, but its metal had no corrosion. It looked untouched by time. The Navy sent drones equipped with strong lights into the dark trench. The cameras cut through the black water, and slowly a shadow began to appear. The first thing they saw was a glowing line on the hull, not a crack, not a light, but a symbol, an alien symbol twisting like it was alive. Mara whispered, "Sir, this cannot be human." Raylan nodded, but his face remained hard and steady. "I know," he said quietly, "but we are responsible for whatever this is." The drone circled the object, and the full shape finally appeared on screen. It was a starship, long and sleek, half buried in the ocean floor. Its design did not match any known species, any known blueprint, or anything humans had ever imagined worse. The glow from the symbols grew brighter as the drones approached. Then, suddenly, the pulse stopped. For a full minute, the ocean went silent. The crew held their breath, staring at the screens. Rylan looked at them and said one simple order, "Raise it," and as if it heard him, the ship beneath the ocean stirred. Just slightly, almost like it understood, almost like it was waiting for someone to find it. After centuries of sleep, the lost starship had finally been seen again. And whatever was inside, it was beginning to wake. The order spread through the Pacific Fleet within minutes. Every ship, every drone, every deep-sea unit was told the same thing. A starship was resting at the bottom of the ocean, and Earth was going to bring it up on the surface. Giant Navy carriers formed a ring around the coordinates. Special salvage vessels arrived with cranes that could lift submarines the size of buildings. But no one had ever tried to lift something like this. No one had ever tried to lift a ship that did not belong to humanity. Mara stood on the main deck with Captain Rylan as the first images from the trench appeared on the big holographic display. The alien ship was still glowing faintly, like it had fire inside its bones. Everyone spoke in quiet voices, as if they were standing in a cathedral. "The hull looks alive," Mara whispered. "It does," Rylan agreed. "But we lift it anyway." The deep-sea drones surrounded the starship and attached magnetic clamps to its surface. But something strange happened. Every clamp touched the metal, then slid off like the hull rejected it. It was too smooth, too perfect. No tool could grip it. Engineers tried lasers. Cutting tools and micro drills, nothing worked. The ship's skin was harder than diamond. Stronger than any alloy Earth knew, frustration grew on the bridge. How do we raise something we cannot touch? One officer asked. Ryland did not answer immediately. He stared at the live feed, watching the glowing symbols along the hull. They looked almost like language, almost like they were trying to say something. Then the pulse returned, loud and rhythmic. The entire deck vibrated as the deep sensors picked it up. The ship was awake again. Mara leaned in closer to the screen. "Sir, the pulse is syncing with our sonar," she said. "It's reacting to us." The drone pilots decided to try something new. Instead of grabbing the hull, they activated energy tethers, beams of force designed for moving fragile wreckage. When the beams touched the alien ship, something unexpected happened. The hull lit up brighter, and the beams locked in place as if the ship allowed it. "It wants to be lifted," Mara said softly. Ryland nodded. "Then let's bring it home, slowly." The deep-sea engines pushed upward, mud cracked, rocks slid away, and ancient chains of sand split apart. For the first time in perhaps thousands of years, the alien starship began to rise. The ocean roared as the massive hull broke free from the trench. Water currents surged against the salvage ships, and alarms sounded everywhere, but no one backed down. The entire fleet worked together, lifting the ship meter by meter. Then the impossible happened. The ship moved on its own, just a little, but enough for everyone to see. The engines at the rear flickered with a faint blue glow. The ship was helping them rise. It was not just waking, it was trying to go home. As the black alien hull approached the surface, Mara whispered the words everyone felt but no one dared to say aloud. "This ship remembers something," and Captain Raylan finished the sentence for her. "And whatever it remembers is coming back." The ocean was calm at first, almost unnaturally silent. Wind stopped, waves flattened, and clouds above the fleet seemed to freeze in place. Every sailor, every officer, every watching scientist held their breath. The alien starship was only a few meters from the surface. Mara stood at the railing, her hands shaking. Beneath her, the water glowed with a deep blue light. It was the glow coming from the ship itself, pushing upward with energy no one understood. "Prepare for surfacing," Captain Rylan ordered, his voice steady even though his eyes showed worry deep under them. The engines of the salvage drone strained as they lifted. Meters became centimeters, centimeters became nothing, and then, with a thunderous sound like the ocean exhaling, the alien ship broke the surface. Water exploded upward in a giant column. The ship rose like a dark mountain emerging from a world of blue. It was enormous, far bigger than the scan suggested. Smooth, black, alive with faint glowing veins of blue light. The command deck went silent. Everyone stared. Humanity had never seen anything like this. Steam burst around the hull as cold deep-sea water met the warm sunlight. For a moment, the ship looked like a creature breathing after a long sleep. Panels on the surface shifted slightly, like muscles under skin. "What is it doing?" Mara whispered. "It's adjusting," a scientist replied, though he sounded unsure. The ship settled on the surface gently. Too gently for something so heavy. It floated as if it weighed nothing, as if the ocean recognized it. Suddenly the pulse returned. But this time it was not a sound, it was light. Blue rings of energy rippled across the hull, traveling from the nose to the engines in perfect rhythm. The fleet's sensors went wild. "Energy spike," someone shouted. "Massive but controlled," Raylan leaned forward. "Controlled by what?" No one could answer. The ship had no crew, no power source, no known system active, but something inside was awake. Something inside was thinking. A loud metallic clang hit the side of the salvage ship. Mara turned sharply. A panel on the alien ship's surface was rising open. Slow and deliberate, inside, faint lights glowed like stars trapped inside a cave. "It's opening," she said in disbelief. The rest of the fleet watched as the panel fully lifted, revealing a deep inner chamber, not machinery, not engines, but something arranged like seats or pods, all empty, all silent. "Are those escape pods?" Rylan asked. "No, sir," the nearest scientist replied. "They look like cradles." The moment he said it, the lights in the chamber brightened. A soft humming began, almost like a lullaby. The ship was calling, or remembering, or searching. Then every radio on every ship crackled with static. A single signal cut through the noise. Calm and cold, it spoke in no known language. Yet every human felt they understood it. A warning, a message, a memory. Mora's face turned pale. "Sir, I think the ship just asked for identification." And Captain Rylan whispered the words that chilled the entire fleet. "It thinks we are not the first ones to wake it." The radios crackled again. Louder this time, the strange voice echoed across every ship in the fleet. Calm and cold, like something speaking from another age, no one could translate the words. But every person felt the meaning inside their mind. Fear grew across the command deck. Captain Rylan kept his eyes on the massive alien ship floating on the water. "Record everything," he ordered, even though his voice trembled. The message repeated again and again, each time clearer, each time heavier on the heart. Mara leaned close to the nearest speaker. "It doesn't sound hostile," she whispered. "But it doesn't sound friendly either." One of the linguists shook his head. "It's not talking to us," he said quietly. "It's talking to someone else." Everyone fell silent. The ship wasn't sending a message to Earth. It was sending something. Somewhere beyond, lights flickered along the hull, forming patterns like ancient symbols. The glowing lines expanded and contracted like a heartbeat. Then the panel on the side of the ship opened even wider, revealing more chambers inside. The scientists hurried to scan them. "No bodies," one reported. "No equipment. Nothing biological." Mara frowned. "Then who were the cradles made for?" Before anyone could answer, the radio screamed with a wave of static. Every screen flickered to black, then a symbol appeared. Glowing white against the darkness, a circle broken by 3 lines. Everyone felt a sudden pressure in their chest. The linguist gasped. "That's not a warning," he said, voice shaking. "That's a signature." "Of what?" Rylan asked. "Of a species," he whispered. "But not the ones who made this ship," a second message began. Slower, deeper, like a heavy door opening. This one felt different. This one felt dangerous. Mara stepped back as the room dimmed. Lights in the alien ship pulsed faster. Matching the rhythm of the new signal, the ocean churned around it. As if reacting to something old and powerful. "What does it say?" Rylan demanded. The linguist swallowed hard. "I think it's a response," he said. "The ship is answering an old call." For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then the scientist at the sensor station shouted, "Sir, we're detecting something in the deep ocean." Rylan turned sharply. "Another ship?" "Not a ship," the scientist whispered. "Something bigger." The alien vessel suddenly fired a bright beam downward into the ocean, piercing miles of water like a needle of blue fire. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the steel decks of every human ship. Mara grabbed the railing as the water around the alien ship began to spin, forming a massive whirlpool. "What is it doing?" she cried. The linguist replied in a terrified voice. "It's calling something that was left with it." The radios crackled once more. The message now fully clear inside every mind, not words, not commands, but a single emotion sent through the air like a cold wind. Fear. The alien ship was not warning humans. It was warning whatever lived in the dark below. It was telling the deep that its guardians had returned, and then the water beneath them began to rise. Something was coming up, something ancient, something the ship remembered, and Earth's Navy realized the truth. This message was never meant for them. It was meant for whatever they had just awakened. The ocean rose like a mountain. Waves crashed against every human ship as alarms rang across the fleet. Lights on the alien starship glowed brighter than before, turning the night into a strange blue day. Everyone on the command deck froze, staring at the violent sea below. Captain Ryland gripped the railing. "What did we wake up?" he whispered. Mara shook her head, unable to breathe. The answer came in the form of a deep rumble rising from the ocean floor. It sounded like something huge breathing after a long sleep. Sensors screamed with warnings. "Object ascending fast," the scientist shouted. "Size." "We can't measure it." Ryland stepped forward, heart pounding. "Put it on the main screen." The dark water churned as something massive pushed upward. For a moment, all they could see was swirling shadows. Then a shape became visible through the chaos, smooth metal, ancient carvings. Glowing marks the same color as the starship above. "It's another vessel," Mara breathed. But bigger. The ocean exploded upward as the second alien craft broke the surface. It dwarfed even the first ship, stretching like a floating city made of silver and deep blue light. The two ships pulsed together, glowing in perfect rhythm. It was like watching two hearts reconnect after centuries apart. A new signal flooded every speaker, every screen, every mind on the fleet. But this time, it was not a warning, it was a conversation. The two ships were talking to each other, sharing information at incredible speed. The humans could only stand and listen, helpless and small. Then the starship that Earth had raised from the deep turned slowly toward the human fleet. Panels shifted, lights rearranged, and a final message echoed through the radios this time. The humans understood the meaning instinctively, like the message was burned into their minds. "We slept too long. The threat returns. You are not ready." Silence followed. Heavy and cold, the huge new ship began to power up. Engines glowing like suns waking from darkness. The water around it steamed, glowing blue from the energy inside. "Captain," Mara whispered, "are they leaving?" But the ships were not leaving, they were aligning, taking formation like a fleet preparing for war. The smaller starship rose into the sky first. Breaking free from the ocean spray, the larger one followed slowly, each movement heavy like an ancient king rising from a throne above them. Clouds split apart as both vessels climbed higher and higher. The human fleet watched in silence. Awe replaced fear. Hope replaced confusion. The linguist stared at the glowing trail the ships left behind. "They're not our enemies," he said softly. "They came from the deep because something worse is coming." Ryland finally understood. This wasn't an invasion. It wasn't an accident. Earth hadn't found the lost starship. The starship had allowed itself to be found. As the alien vessels disappeared into the upper atmosphere, a final pulse washed over the ocean and the ships, a soft, steady beat like a promise. "Prepare yourselves. We will return," and then they were gone. Leaving Earth's Navy alone on a silent ocean, knowing the truth that would change humanity forever. Something ancient was coming toward Earth, and the starships that rose from the deep had returned to face it.